change your heart, change your life, change the planet. Hey everybody, it's Tim Van Orden coming to you from the beautiful Glastonbury Wilderness in Glastonbury, Vermont. One of the most remote parts of the Northeast. In fact, you can look it up online. The Glastonbury Triangle. A lot of people have disappeared in this area, and there's a lot of folklore about these woods. And I love coming up here because you never, ever, ever see another human being. But I see a lot of bear. I see a lot of moose tracks. But so far I haven't bumped into a moose in person here, but some big black bear. Anyway, today I want to talk about a journey of 1,000 miles, beginning with a single step. And you might think from watching my videos that this is something that I believe. And maybe in the not too distant past, it is something that I would advocate and endorse. But a lot has changed for me. And the idea of journey of 1,000 miles itself, regardless of the steps, is highly problematic to me. Now, at this point in my thinking, a woodpecker scared me. So, we're going to talk about that. Why thinking about a journey of 1,000 miles can stop you in your tracks and prevent you from taking any steps at all. Because my goal is to help you take steps on a consistent basis, no matter what is happening. And one of the biggest things that can show up to stop us as we move towards the goal is the goal itself. Often the goal is the biggest obstacle to achieving the goal. So you're gonna read stories about people who've done extraordinary things and who have committed to the journey of 1,000 miles, or even more, 10,000 miles. And they take a single step and it begins, and they build a support network, and they train, and they learn, and they grow. And that's great. But I really think that's the exception and not the rule. I think it's a very rare individual that can put a journey of 1,000 miles in front of them, or like Scott Jurek running the Appalachian Trail, the journey of, 2,700 miles? It's a rare person that can take that on, and that can hold the weight of that goal on their shoulders in each of those steps. Because at step one, you're not simply taking a step in a vacuum. You're taking a step towards 1,000 miles. And there's a really good chance that your brain is doing some calculations. And there may be some excitement in the beginning, and maybe that single step is full of fanfare and full of adrenaline and dopamine. You're really hungry and you desire the goal, but it doesn't take too long for you to start adding it up and saying, oh my God, how many more single steps do I have to take? I can't do it! And the goal itself becomes the thing that stops you. Another problem with stories that you might read or videos that you might see where someone committed to a giant goal and then achieved it, a lot of these are filmed or written after the fact, using post hoc rationalization and hindsight bias. Most people don't know what they're doing when they start out. They may have one goal and they get completely sidetracked and they end up with another really extraordinary accomplishment that looked nothing like their initial goal. But when they write the story, when they write the post, they'll often go back and engineer it to seem like that's what they wanted all along. Like, how did you become so successful? And they tell a linear story of A to present. And our brains manufacture stories in that regard. We cherry pick data and we use hindsight bias, and we even change our memories. Not on purpose, This is a feature of the brain. It's not something that most people do intentionally. Yes, some people lie on purpose, but most of us confabulate completely without our conscious awareness that we are doing it. It's that left brain interpreter over there. It's making a story that is coherent, that is consistent with your belief about yourself. And it'll fudge things in order to come up with a story that makes your identity feel consistent, even when it actually isn't. So, a lot of these stories are going to be fabrications, most of them not malicious fabrications, but just what the brain does. Most of them are going to look back with hindsight and they're going to say, yes, I knew that at the time, but in actuality, they didn't. And post hoc rationalization is where we justify the choices we made because they were successful. We say that, yes, that was the best choice at the time, and I knew that. And that's why I'm an expert, and that's why you should pay me a lot of money, because look at these amazing choices that I made. But in reality, if people were really that good at making choices, we'd have a lot more lottery winners. And if you look at the statistics and think about the law of very large numbers, it is highly, highly, highly likely that somebody win the Mega Million jackpot. But it's highly, highly, highly unlikely that it's you. So somebody's going to win. There's very high odds of that. But the odds of you being able to predict who that person is, impossible. So a lot of people just got lucky. They were in the right place at the right time with the right tools, the right support structure, the right team, and it worked out just out of dumb luck. So my point of bringing all that in is that things will go wrong. And sometimes things will go horribly wrong. And any of you that have ever attempted an ultramarathon, you know this. That's what makes an ultramarathon different than any other type of road race or running race. You can train for a 5K, and maybe you'll run your PR, maybe you'll be a minute slower than your PR, but it's highly unlikely that you're not going to finish. It's highly unlikely that you're going to develop some serious condition. Same with a marathon. If you actually train properly for a marathon, not only are you going to finish, but you can predict your time within, say, 6 minutes. But with an ultramarathon, a 100-miler, with 30,000 feet of gain in hot, dry climates, you can't even predict that you're going to finish. There are a lot of really extraordinary athletes who are in phenomenal shape, who've tried a 100-miler thinking they're going to win, or hoping that they were going to win, and then not finishing. It's pretty common. So when you start a journey of 1,000 miles, whether that actually be a 1,000-mile journey, or whether that's a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan at work, with a book, in Hollywood, making a certain amount of money, whatever it is, when you create that big goal and put it way out in front of you, the chances that it goes exactly the way you want are pretty much zero, because you can't predict what's going to happen in the world. You're creating this abstraction of a goal, and that goal doesn't exist, so your brain has to make up everything around that goal. It has to make up all the conditions that surround each step of the goal, and there's no possible way you could predict that. So the further you go into the future, the less your predictions look anything like objective reality. Take the weather as an example. Weathermen are really good at telling you what's going to happen 15 minutes from now. And they're pretty good at telling you what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after within a certain probability range. They're not going to tell you it is going to rain. They're going to say there is a 60% chance of rain. And that 60% chance is very accurate, meaning that they can't tell you when, they can't tell you if, but what they can tell you is we're really, really, really certain that there's a 60% chance of rain, not a 30%. but a 60%. And that's how weather forecasts go. It's all about probabilities. But the further you get away from today, right now, the less accurate those predictions become, especially in a place like New England, where we're getting hit from things coming from Canada, we're getting hit from things coming up the coast, and we get sandwiched between all these different weather systems. So, as the saying goes, if you don't like the weather in New England, wait 15 minutes. So back to these 1,000-mile goals, these big, hairy, audacious goals, or BHAGs, as a lot of success coaches call them. You've probably already guessed by now that I'm not a fan of these types of goals, because a journey of 1,000 miles rarely begins with a single step. It's when we look behind us, when we look in the rear view mirror, and we see, wow, I just went 1,000 miles. And then we write the story about our 1,000-mile journey and the first step that we took. And it's inspiring, and we get on Oprah, and everybody loves us, and we live life happily ever after. Well, for most people, again, there are some exceptions, but the rule is generally that we don't even know that we're on a 1,000-mile journey until we've completed it, or until somebody else points it out to us. We might not even know. A great example of this is my buddy Dave Dunham, who is the father or founder of the New England Mountain Running Series, keeps statistics on not only the mountain running series, but the all-terrain series and many of the snowshoe series in the Northeast. And it's really fun to look at the data that he collects, because from that data you can see things that you otherwise wouldn't see or be aware of. For instance, he posted the other day on his blog, Double D Mountain Runner, that I just completed my 40th mountain race in the New England Series. Holy cow! I had no idea I've done that many races up New England mountains. So I can now create this story of the journey of 40 mountains. Began with a single step, and it'll be really exciting, and you'll love it, I'm sure. But I had no idea that I'd done that. And other people, it might be, you got the third fastest time in this particular race ever. I had no idea. I didn't even look back to see what people had run there. So by looking at his data, he's pulling out all this information that can be really exciting to look at in hindsight, but at the time you're doing it, you have no idea that there's any significance to it. Like maybe you set a course record. It's like, I had no idea I was running a course record until Dave told me. And then suddenly it becomes really exciting, and I tell the story about it, and the race becomes a lot more interesting to talk about because now there's a course record. So often we don't know that we're on the journey until somebody else points it out to us. And then suddenly we start to take ownership of it. Again, hindsight bias and the quirks of that left brain interpreter as it's trying to elevate our status, trying to improve our rank in the community. And that can be fun, but it's just that. It's fun, nothing more. So, what I recommend instead of creating these big, hairy, audacious goals and these gigantic journeys, huge commitments, because they only exist in the rearview mirror when you look back. What I recommend instead is to be here now. Like for instance, what am I doing right now? I'm on my second run of the day. I will have probably 2,500 feet of elevation gain, about 12 miles. Did I plan any of this? No. Did I plan yesterday's 12 miles with 2,400 feet of gain? No. None of it was planned. And the goals that I used to have and the training plans that I used to employ freaked me out, because I'd look at those spreadsheets and I'd see how many miles I'd run, and I'd see how many more I had to run. And oh no, I got sick, or I got injured, or I broke a toe, and now my mileage is down and I can't keep up, and I'm gonna blow that race. And I generate all these stories because I had this really big, exciting goal. And a big, exciting goal does not allow for contingencies. It does not allow for rocks in your shoe, which just happened to me. But I'm going to keep running with it. I'm going to work with that discomfort. It doesn't allow for things like this. those big goals, they pretty much rely on everything going well. And when we engage in a goal like this, we get this massive shot of dopamine and norepinephrine. We're engaged, we're alert, and we're really excited about that goal. We've got a lot of hunger for it. We've got the drive, we've got the eye of the tiger. And that's fun, but this makes us overly confident. And it puts us in a more delusional state. And when I say delusional, I don't mean that you're hallucinating things in the world that are not there. What I mean is that we overestimate our abilities. We overestimate the smoothness of the path. We overestimate the number of obstacles or any obstacles that might be present. And if we do imagine an obstacle, of course, we're going to be able to dominate it, no problem. Everything is going to go perfectly. Why? Because we feel good. When we feel good, we believe we can do anything and there's not going to be a problem. It's when we feel bad that suddenly all these obstacles show up, which again is why I love depression as a tool. Another video. So when you simply focus on being engaged and you take away the pressure of the 1,000-mile journey, you can be here now, exploring this and not worrying about how this adds up, not worrying about what you get at the end of the month from this, and then the next day and the next day. I'm simply here enjoying this run. And because I'm enjoying this run without any pressure, I'm gonna go longer. And because I'm enjoying the run, and again, I don't have that pressure, if my knee starts to hurt or my Achilles is acting up or my hips, ITB, whatever, I'm gonna pay attention to them and I'm gonna walk, because I don't have any quotas that I need to hit. I don't have any speed goals to hit or distance goals. I simply have the run. And without that pressure, I'm more likely to take care of myself out here. I'm more likely to make choices that take my health into consideration rather than taking only my goals into consideration and honoring my mileage commitments or my speed commitments. So by not having any actual goal other than a lighthouse that says running is good, running opens you up, running transforms my mental state, running through the woods is one of my favorite things. Listening to audiobooks as I run is really exciting for me. I learn so much information while I'm out here. Right now I'm listening to a book by Robert Sapolsky called Behave. He is one of my favorite authors, professors. He teaches at Stanford. I've read everything that he's ever written, and this is his grand opus. This is the culmination of probably 35 years of research on his part. So every other book that he's written prior to this is summed up with new data in this book, and some of it even contradicting his old information. I digress. The point is that running for me is not about a 1,000-mile journey. Running for me is about a journey right now, right here, and it's going to turn out the way it turns out, and I'll have stories to tell, and I will have adventures that I can share, and some of them are going to be exciting, some of them are going to be heartbreaking, because it's part of my human experience. But I don't need to represent them in a way that supports my identity as being omniscient and knowing what was going to happen when I took that first step. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen out here. I have no idea how far I'm going to go. I've got a lighthouse that says, well, it's going to be dark in 2 hours, so let's keep that in mind. I've also got the hunger lighthouse or the thirst lighthouse, because I don't run with food or water. My pack is just for camera equipment. I'll have stuff in the car, but I don't ever run with it. And part of that is I want my body to adapt to dehydration and also to burning fat. So if I need to, I can take a shortcut back to the car, which is what every hiker who gets lost says, oh, I'll just take a shortcut. Anyway. These various lighthouses point me in certain directions, but they don't tell me how far I have to go, when I have to get there, or why I'm going there. They're just like, all right, keep these in mind. Keep this information in mind as you move forward on your adventure and as you explore the world. A lot of the time, I'm just walking out here. I bring my saw and I clear down trees across the trail. I was doing that on my run this morning. I ran for about 90 minutes, and then 45 minutes I spent trail clearing. And some of that I wasn't moving at all except my arms. But I consider that a workout, and that's part of the adventure, and that doesn't take away from my fitness. This is something that I've been doing on a regular basis now for about a year. I've given up training plans. I've given up training goals. I no longer look at that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can see what I do on Strava, but I don't care what the numbers say. It's irrelevant to me. I just want to have the journey. I have the Strava for other people so they can see where I run. I want people to come check this place out. I want people to explore their world, so I put up photos and I put up that data so that people can see what the journey looks like, much more than they can look at, well, how fast is he running? What's his average pace? How much elevation has he climbed? How many miles does he run a week? I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. What matters is that I got to explore some really amazing places. I got to listen to some really incredible information, and I got to experience myself in a way that is nearly impossible when I'm not moving my body in a natural environment. And even right now, I'm finishing up my run, about 6 miles. I've still got that rock in my shoe. It's worked its way right under my arch, so I'm running on my toes a bit because every time I push down, it jabs into my arch. But I'm still happy, and I'm leaving it there because life just shows up that way sometime. And we've got discomfort, and you got to deal with it. So I'm dealing with it with a smile on my face. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you find value in what I say, come on over to Patreon and support this channel so that I can grow this process, grow this education, and reach more people. The link is right there. And as always, I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.